In this video, I'm going to show you how to add excitement to your pop rock tracks using strings. A great string sound can really add a lot to a song, whether it's a small, intimate piano acoustic song where the strings add to that intimacy and just provide a really nice lush texture, or whether it's a denser pop rock arrangement where the strings are integral to that big overall dense sound. In this example, we have got quite a dense pop rock mix, but the strings are key, particularly in the choruses and especially in the middle eight. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I arrange the strings to add excitement to the song, to make it build and to engage the listener. Now, if you're a songwriter, then make sure you stick around until the end of the video where I've got a free gift that you can download that absolutely will help you write better songs and get better arrangements. But right now, let's dive into the session. So this track is by a UK singer-songwriter called Rob Dooler. It's called Free, and it's a very classic pop rock song. I'll play you a small section now, and then we'll take a closer look to what the strings are doing. So as you can hear, the strings play a really key role in that chorus. They're really lush and add a nice texture. But when that middle eight kicks in, the strings do a lot more. Now, as you can see in the mix session, we've just got two tracks of strings. We've got this one here that's kind of just doing the main strings, and then this one here that's called strings staccato, which that's the one that takes over in the middle eight. Now, although it looks like there's just two stereo tracks here, there was actually quite a few more in the production and in the arrangement that I've just kind of comped down for the purpose of saving space in the mix. So let's take a look at what some of those string layers were. So that main string line, the one that's kind of doing the lush legato strings throughout the chorus, is actually made up of two parts. So we've got this one here, which is strings main, and then we've also got this one here, which is strings high. Now the high part is the same as the main, but it is up an octave. On its own, it's really high and screechy, but when you blend it in with the main string sound, it sounds really good. So let's take a listen to both of those together. This is when the chorus comes in. This is a really simple 3-chord song. So that string line, which just alternates between two notes, goes with the vocal really well. Let's take a listen to what those sound like with the vocals, and I'll put the acoustic guitars in as well, just for reference.
You and me, we're free. We're free to live our lives. Holding out for a dream. Now we're free to live our lives.
So those are going together really well at this point. Now, when we come out of the chorus, quite often we don't want the strings to just end. So I quite like sometimes to just go on a single string note that's not low, but somewhere in the low mid-range. Take a listen to these strings coming out of chorus 1.
Holding out for a dream. Yeah, we're free to live our lives.
So it just ends on that long sustained note, just so it's not so abrupt. And as you can see in the mix session, we're also fading it out as well. And that happens a few times in the song. So after the middle eight, everything kind of like drops out for a bit of a breakdown. Those strings are just holding a long sustained note there. And also right at the end of the song, after the final chorus, which is the climax of the song where everything goes really big, it then ends on an outro, which is a picking acoustic guitar riff. So we've just got a nice long sustained string note that also fades out. Now let's take a look at that middle section. So the middle 8 is where the chords change slightly. So it's a really simple 3-chord song. However, the middle 8 changes things around, which is quite typical in pop rock music. We also wanted to give the illusion of the song speeding up. Now, we could automate the tempo. It's currently at 133. We could automate it up to 134, 135 just for that section. But that's not always necessary, and we can actually give the illusion of the song speeding up with a really good arrangement. And the way we've done it in this song is by using some really fast-moving staccato style strings. Take a listen to this. Now, right at the end of that, that's where the legato strings kind of take over. Let me just play that ending for you again, just so you can hear the transition. Now, that staccato part is made up of quite a few tracks, and we did that for quite a good reason. So the first one is this one here. It's from Eastwest Hollywood Strings, and it's the spiccato sample. Take a listen to what they sound like. So I really like the body of that sample. We've got a lot of kind of bigness to the sound, but what we're missing is attack. I want to kind of hear some more attack from those strings. Now that's where some of these other parts come in. This is a pizzicato sample. Let's take a listen. So that sample very much lacks body. It's quite anemic, but it's all attack. That is going to blend with the first one quite nice, and we're going to get an overall sound that's got some attack but also got some body. Now let's take a look at the other ones. This is another spiccato sample. I believe this is just a different string library. It's probably Omnisphere. Let's take a listen. So that's quite a nice sample. It's got a little bit more attack than the East-West spiccato sample, but the trade-off is that it's got a little bit less body. But that's okay because we're going to blend it in with that sample that's got a bit more body. And the final one is a staccato sample. Let's take a listen to that. So again, not a ton of attack, but there's some really nice upper mids from that, which is kind of what we were lacking from some of the other samples. Now, put all of those together, that's what we get. We get a really nice blend of all those different string sounds. It's quite dynamic. So in the mix, we are adding a little bit of compression. I'm adding some top just to make it a little bit more airy. I like to add air from my strings because guitars are very much focused in the mid-range. So strings that are airy complement that really well. I'm also adding some upper mids, particularly to this staccato sample, because I want that kind of upper mid bite. We're then adding some compression. That is on a slow attack, but a fast-ish release. So that slow attack is going to really bring those notes out. Let's put all of that together. I'm going to mute the vocals for now, just so that you can focus on what the strings are actually doing. So we'll take a listen to the chorus where we've got these lush legato strings with the upper octave, and then we're going into that middle 8 with all of those different spiccato, pizzicato and staccato samples, and then coming back out into the legato strings again. Let's take a listen. One thing I think is really worth mentioning is, although the strings in the middle 8 are very, very busy, because they're kind of playing a repeated rhythm and it's a very regular rhythm, it's just eighth notes, that doesn't get in the way of other stuff that's happening. So it doesn't get in the way of the vocal, and you probably also noticed that there was a guitar lick as well. So we've just got the standard rhythm guitars here, but there was also this guitar right here that was playing a little bit of a riff in the middle 8. So there's a huge delay on that, but you get the idea. The strings don't get in the way of that stuff. Also, when the main string line comes back in and takes over here, it comes in with some kind of low mids and high mid strings, but then halfway through, just before that breakdown comes, we add an extra high string as well. Take a listen just in case you missed that. That's really effective at building tension and just getting us to that breakdown point. We've then just got the long sustained note that holds out through that breakdown. So that's how I'm using strings to add excitement and engage the listener in a pop rock type song. Now, if you're a songwriter, at this point, it would make a ton of sense for you to download my songwriters checklist. Songwriting absolutely is an art. Everyone has got their own process at writing a song, and there is no one way to write a song. However, despite it being an art, there is still structure. As a listener, listeners expect to hear certain things, they expect to feel a certain way, and that has to come across in your music. So despite it being an art, there is still a process and still a structure that we have to go through to make sure that our song doesn't miss the mark and to make sure that it has an impact with our listeners. To help with that, I created my songwriters checklist. This is the exact same checklist that I go through with every single one of my production clients before we even hit the record button. We want to make sure that the song and the arrangement is the absolute best that it possibly can be. That is the only way that you're going to have impact, that you're going to engage your listener and make people want to hit the repeat button and listen to your song over and over again. This checklist is completely free. Just go to the link in the description below and it's yours. You can get it straight away.